Welcome to Turning Moments into Movements, where each week we explore simple but powerful wellbeing tips to help you live a balanced and fulfilling life. My name's Leanne Ross, your host and the founder and coach of my business, Happyluia, and I will be taking you through today's 15 minutes of insight and inspiration. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode is all about challenging our self-limiting beliefs. So we are going to dive into some of the concepts today around what a self-limiting belief is, how they're formed, and then what to do when we do start to recognise them, how to shift them and really allow them to leave our thought processes so they stop limiting us and we can really live that life that we truly want to. So diving straight in, so a belief is really a repeated thought that occurs from either a repeated set of incidents or a significant event. So generally that's what forms a belief. So an example of this could be that you were brought up with a certain religion, you maybe attended church, your parents spoke about, God, or, your identified God, repeatedly, and it was constantly reaffirmed that God exists, God is good, and God is the creator. So that would have led you to developing a belief that that's the case. We also have beliefs that are maybe not as, maybe a little bit more surface level. So an example of this could be my mum makes the best lasagna, right? I have tried so many lasagnas. I've been to Italy. I've made lasagnas myself. I've tried so many lasagnas throughout my 33 years of life, but I still believe that my mum's lasagna is the best, right? So that's a belief, and that's been reaffirmed. When I've tried other people's lasagnas, it's been reaffirmed, this is not as good as my mum's. So that's a significant number of incidents that have reaffirmed that belief, yeah? So another kind of set of beliefs could be from a significant incident that happened to you. So it could be a traumatic experience. And typically when they're more negative experiences, that can lead to us having limiting beliefs about ourselves. So one example that I wanted to share was one that I have worked through for years. And it's something that I still have to check in with every so often, but it's something that I've done a lot of work on, so I'm more than happy to share. So I was very fortunate when I was a child. I was brought up in a really loving home, lots of unconditional love there. However, when I was in school, I was a young girl, and there was a day where my teacher started to list her favourite students in front of the class. And I remember it so vividly. I remember sitting, at my chair I actually remember crossing my fingers under the desk. I was like, I really want to be chosen. I really want to be chosen as one of her favourite students. And I remember thinking, like, I'm such a good girl, I really try hard at school and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't chosen. She literally listed so many other students and completely missed me out, as well as a few others. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I just don't understand why that's happened. Like, I feel like I'm really well behaved in school, and she's actually picked some people who, really misbehaved and they didn't do their homework. And it just didn't translate to me. But what did translate to me was, I can give my best, but that's not enough, right? So I can be the best version of myself, but that is not good enough. So that was that significant event that happened. And, by all means, as I say, out with that incident, I was, brought up with so much unconditional love and really knew my worth. But that significant incident stuck with me. So then several years later, fell into some friend groups, really surface level friend groups, really fair weathered friends. And what I found was I was giving and giving and giving. And I was trying to be the best type of friend ever to them. Like, looking back, I was completely mugged off. Like, so much I gave to that, friend group. But again, they just mistreated me, they just, weren't the best. And once again, that reaffirmed, once again, that significant incident just reaffirmed, I can give, and give, and it'll never be enough. Like, I am not enough. I then was in an emotionally abusive relationship with an ex-partner, and he used to tell me daily, you are not enough. You will never be perfect. You need to do X, Y, and Z in order to be perfect. And even when I did X, Y, and Z, I still was never perfect. It was never enough. So that became a repeated incident where I was constantly being told every other day or every day, numerous times a day, that I was not enough. No matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. And, having come out of that relationship and kind of moved forward, re-established myself as a person, I now have amazing friends, I'm now in a loving relationship, all of that jazz, right? I still had that self-limiting belief that no matter what I did, it was never good enough. And I had so much evidence to suggest that that wasn't true. I had a really solid family unit, I had so many amazing friends. I was doing really well in my career. I was constantly being told by people, wow, you did a really good job today. But that wasn't enough to change that self-limiting belief that I had about myself. So what is really important to recognize is these self-limiting beliefs limit us. So what was really happening in my life when I felt like I wasn't good enough? I was constantly questioning myself. I was really critical of myself. I was working myself to the extent I was constantly burnt out. I was constantly stressed because I felt like I kept having to give and give and give because I was desperate to kind of almost overtake that self-limiting belief that I had. And people could and would tell me a million times, oh, Leanne, you're so worthy. You don't have to give 150% of yourself in order for you to feel good enough. People would tell me things like that, and it just wouldn't make a difference. So what I started to do was I started to become aware of this self-limiting belief. I started to journal. I started to really reflect on the thoughts that I was regularly having. We have over 60,000 thoughts a day, and research suggests that 80% of them are negative. So this can be really challenging to really develop awareness of the self-limiting beliefs that you have. So I would really encourage you, this isn't a sales pitch, but I would really encourage you to get a coach or go to therapy or get a counsellor to really hash this out and to really have an understanding around what your self-limiting beliefs really are. I have amazing frameworks that I use in my program that can really help to unpick these self-limiting beliefs. So make sure that you do reach out, whether it's to me or someone else, so you do start to develop that awareness. I then would suggest that you start to explore this. So explore this self-limiting belief. And this is really important that you do this in a safe way. So I would encourage you to do this with a trained professional, because what we don't want is we don't want to re-traumatize you when you are exploring these challenges that you have had to experience for a long time of your life. So I would be really encouraging you just to engage in some reflection around, when did this belief start to form? Why did it form? Like, what happened in your life to really lead to that self-limiting belief forming? How does it affect you? Does it stop you going for that job promotion? Does it stop you from feeling deserving of a loving relationship? Does it stop you from reaching out to get support because you feel that you're just not good enough, you don't deserve it? And then, focusing on who can support you through that as well. The third step is reframing. Now, reframing has to be intentional. It can't be surface level, in my opinion. So an example could be me going back to my example, constantly saying, oh, I am good enough, I'm worthy, I'm good enough, I'm worthy. I could say that a million times and it wouldn't have made a difference. I needed to believe it. So reframing it into something that I actually could take on board. So I am good enough for the people who matter. Like, how much more powerful does that sound? That really would have resonated to me. It would have allowed me to kind of reflect of, well, actually, maybe it's these people that are the problem, not me. Another one I've written down could be, when I'm treated this way, I now know that that's when I give my permission to end those types of relationships. That's when I decide to break off those friendships, when I'm made to feel like that. And just reframing your learning from it can be really powerful because you are starting to take that ownership back. And taking your ownership back, taking that power back is super powerful. It will really, really change your life. And when you're looking at reframing, look at the evidence. So look at what people have said to you in the past that's positive. Look at that validation. For me, writing down a big list of factually why I was worthy was really helpful. I was able to reflect on everything that I had achieved. I was able to reflect on everyone in my life who really did value me. And sometimes I actually went and spoke to people and needed that external validation. So really, really important when you're going through that reframe, you're basing on something that you do believe in and that you can buy into. The last step is self-love and self-compassion. And this is key. When we have self-limiting beliefs, they can form so much shame and guilt about ourselves. And shame and guilt are such heavy sort of things to carry. They're such heavy burdens. And releasing that just a little bit at a time through showing yourself some self-love and showing yourself some self-compassion is really powerful. Because self-limiting beliefs are inevitable. They come from a place of being conditioned, and sometimes it's with good intention. So it could be that when you were little, you were maybe quite boisterous as a child and you were told, stop showing off, go and sit down, because the person that told you that really loved you and didn't want you to be penalised as a child or get told off. But that could translate as an adult of being told to sit down, shut up and not speak in a meeting. So you may be less inclined to speak up for what you believe in. You may be less inclined to call people out when they're mistreating you. So, it can come from a place of love and it can come from a place of people wanting to protect you. But irrespective, if it's limiting us in some way, it's something that we can release in order to really start to live that life that you truly want to. So just to recap, self-limiting beliefs are really beliefs that limit us and stop us from really fulfilling our potential. The steps that I would really recommend is to become aware of that self-limiting belief and do it one at a time. Don't do 10 self-limiting beliefs, focus on one at a time, I would suggest. So be aware of your self-limiting belief, start to explore it. So focusing on the when, the why, the what, the how and the who. start to reframe it, get some buy-in, get some evidence there so you can really start to change that inner dialogue that you're having with yourself. So it could be the examples that I've previously shared. It could be around, there's so many examples. It could be, I've put on loads of weight and I'm really unattractive. So it could be, I don't feel great about myself, but I am so prepared to make those changes happen. And you just see the difference. You're still acknowledging that there is still a little bit of a challenge there, but you're reframing it to be a bit more positive, but you are still sticking to that truth within you. And the more you do this, the more you'll distance yourself from that limiting belief. And then finally, self-love and self-compassion. There's so much that we can do to develop our self-love and self-compassion. I will definitely do an episode about that later down the line. But self-care is a really key one. Positive self-talk and challenging our self-limiting beliefs in itself really helps us to show ourselves some self-love and self-compassion. There's so much I could talk about in terms of self-limiting beliefs. There's so many other concepts I've not even touched on. So I will be sure to do some follow-up episodes around this to ensure that, I am giving as much information as possible around these specific concepts. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Please reach out, get in touch if this has resonated with you. If you want that support, if you want specific support to challenge your self-limiting beliefs and really start to live the life that you never thought possible, get in touch because I am ready. I am ready to help you. I am so excited for you to step on this journey with me. Take care, and I will speak to you all next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Turning Moments into Movements. Why not check out coaching opportunities with me so you can really begin to enhance your moments into huge movements and begin to live the life you never thought possible. Details are in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave a review and share this episode. Remember to also follow me on social media platforms through my handle Happyluya, where you will receive additional daily content. And finally, make sure you join us next week for more tips on how you can turn your small moments into life-changing movements.